Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our first food security community call of the new year. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday season and had some time for some well-deserved relaxation and joy and maybe adventures, whatever recharges you. So I'm happy to see you all here today. I'm going to give it another minute or two. We have some folks coming in from the weight room, and I also know we are doing a new system today, a little bit new for us with a new calendar invite just for this call. We're hoping to make things a little less confusing in the future, should we have any meeting cancellations or shifting of dates. So if you have old calendar invites in your calendar, please take this opportunity in the new year to clean those out. We will have new ones moving forward for each and every call. So you will hear this reminder from me again, because I know these things have a way of sticking around and lingering in our calendars. So I appreciate your patience with all of that. Let's see. Okay, we are starting to get some numbers here. I know it's a little shaky with the new system. But what I am going to get started with then is I'm going to introduce Esther Waldrop of our staff to kick off our agenda, which I'll place in the chat box in just a moment, to talk about the new Nutrition Navigator. Thanks so much, Esther.
Awesome. Thanks, Emery. Thank you for having me today and letting me share about this exciting new website update. So the Food Trust and the Bainham Family Foundation and the Food Council are excited to announce the launch of the Nutrition Navigator. This is an interactive, multi-language, free online community resource map. It's currently focused on the Philadelphia and DC, Maryland, Virginia area. It gives residents a clear, comprehensive picture of the healthy food-related programs and resources available to them, from nutrition education and incentive programs to local points of access and job training opportunities. The Nutrition Navigator was previously known as the Learning Food Locator, so hopefully that rings some bells for you all. It's a mapping tool to help users find healthy food resources near them. The Food Council is serving as a local partner in recruiting organizations and businesses to help populate the map. We are working with the DMV region to join the network. It hasn't been widely promoted to the public. We're trying to increase the number of organizations that are on the map and just get the word out there before we really make a push to the public. So we are excited to partner with you all to make it even more comprehensive with lots of programs. So the types of programs and organizations that will appear on the map will fall into one or more of the following categories. So find healthy local food near me, learn more about food and nutrition, stretch my food budget, and training for food and farming jobs. So yeah, we're excited. I'm going to share all the links in the chat in just a few seconds. So you can explore that, share it with your networks widely. It's been in our newsletters, and I'm sure you'll be receiving a follow-up email along with the any notes from this meeting. So if you have any questions, you can either email me, and I'll also put my email in the chat, or the info@Food Council email. And I will also share a recording to a training that we had a few weeks ago on a step-by-step on how to submit your program on the map. So I will share those links in the chat right now. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Thanks so much, Esther. We are also going to actually turn things over now to Jack of our staff to reintroduce and introduce our new Food Council members. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie. Good afternoon and Happy New Year to everyone. I'm so happy to be here and so happy to see everyone again in the new year. I just wanted to give a brief introduction to some of our new Food Council members, as well as some of our older Food Council members who are joining back this year. We, in 2024, are starting a new Food Council members cycle, and wanted to take this opportunity to introduce our new members, as well as reintroduce our returning members that are operating in this food security space. These are some of the people that we'll be turning to for support as we work together on food security and food access issues, and you should feel free to connect with them as well. So I'm going to just introduce everyone as well as their working title. They are as new council members and or board members. So first I'm going to do our returning council members who are part of this space, and I'm going to kick that off with Jenny Friedman. Jennifer Friedman is the founder and executive director of Community Farm Share. We are also joined by Monica Goldberg, the CARES Navigation Program Coordinator for Montgomery County DHHS, as well as Mary Bennett, a Justice and Advocacy Counsel for the Montgomery County Community Advocacy Institute, Marla Kaplan, who is the Director of Student Wellness and Initiatives for MCPS, Montgomery County Public Schools, Amanda Nesher, who is a former Food Council staff and a food security consultant, as well as Gabby Massey, who I think I saw joined, who is the Maryland Regional Manager for the Capital Area Food Bank. Those are our returning council. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Jack. I was just going to cut you off for a second. If you wouldn't mind just giving them a quick opportunity to say hello.
Oh, yeah,
and
of
let
course.
them
I'm
know-
totally so
Yeah,
sorry.
just a quick wave, because I know
Oh,
it's
yeah.
hard to kind of get the grasp on Zoom, and just a quick
of
note
course.
as to who they're working with. Thank you. Sorry
Yeah,
about
of course. No, sorry about that. So I'm gonna start that back in beginning. Jenny, would you like to introduce yourself to the group?
Hi, sorry, I'm just probably getting my video on. Okay, yeah, Jenny Freeman with Community Farm Share, and great to be here, and thanks for organizing this call, and looking forward to another year with Food Council.
Awesome. Happy New Year. Good to see you again. Monica?
Hi, everyone. Monica Goldberg. Work for HHS with the Navigation Program, Test Community Action Center. Happy to be doing a second year with the Food Council and happy to be here.
Good afternoon. Next, Mary?
Sorry, I was muted. Hi, Mary Bennett. I'm a community advocate with Advocates for Social Justice, the Community Action Board's Community Advocacy Institute, and I'm on the MANA Food Centers Advocacy Task Force. Hello.
Great to see you again, Mary. I don't believe Marla has joined yet, so I am next going to turn it over to Amanda Nesher.
Hi, everyone. I think I know most of you all. Good to be back again, and looking forward to working with you all. I'm also on the policy committee, so looking forward to doing some work there this year. Nice to see you.
Thank you. And our last returning member that I'd like to introduce is Gabby Massey.
Good afternoon, everyone, and Happy New Year. It's good to see so many familiar faces. My name is Gabby Massey. I'm the manager for the Maryland region at Capital Area Food Bank, supporting the Prince George's and Montgomery County.
Great to see you again. And then next, I'm actually going to turn it over to our new Food Council members who are just now starting with us this January and are new to the process, but we also want to introduce them to everyone as well. So first, I'm going to turn it over to Agar.
Happy New Year, everyone. My name is Agamdi, and I'm with Mana Food Center, and I'm very glad to be here. Thank you.
Of course, we're so happy to have you this year, Agar. Next, Monica, Clark Driver.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, my camera's not working. Monica Driver from Holy Cross Health, and glad to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for joining. Our next one, I don't believe is here yet, so I'm just going to introduce Marco. Marco Rivera Oven is the, let me make sure I get the correct hub. Marco is the Director of Operations for the Upcounty Hub in Germantown. And then our final new, who is a board member that I would invite to introduce himself, is Elizabeth Epps from Maryland Hunger Solutions. And if Elizabeth's not ready to go, no worries there. Oh, and yep, there we go. So Elizabeth, I can introduce then, is the Deputy Director for Maryland Hunger Solutions, and she will be joining our Board of Directors this year. So these are some of our new council and board members this year who connect with our food security space, and you will see in these calls, as well as others as well, obviously, but in these calls as they work directly in this food security space. With that, I know we're ahead of time, Anne Marie, but I think that's everybody, so I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay. I'm actually going to take this moment. We are working on some breakout rooms for our agenda. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty doing that. So Esther is going to jump in a little bit and try to help me. And if worse comes to worse, we'll pivot. But in the meantime, I do want to share a quick update about some information that I had just gotten today that we will share in our follow-up notes. But just to make you all aware that the Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services is in the process of launching the new Community Connect portal that will make it easier for residents to access the Working Parents Assistance Program, which is a subsidy program to help families cover the cost of childcare, along with county health programs and rental assistance programs. And so that is they are starting a pilot today that's going to run through February 9th. And they are asking for help in testing the portal before it's officially launched to make sure they're offering the best possible product. So again, I'm going to include all of that information and flyers. This is an opportunity for residents, organizations to all try the system out. I do want to make clear, though, that if a resident does participate in this pilot, they are not actually submitting an application. So just to make that note, because that was not clear to me. So I went back and asked. So if you were getting the flyers or seeing the flyers, it doesn't specify that there. So I wanted to make sure to get that information for you, that you are, if you're working with a resident and they're going to try that out, it is really just to provide feedback on the process. There's not an opportunity for them to submit that and actually have it be an application. So again, probably something more that organizations would like to take a walk through and experience and give some feedback, but just a word of caution as you're giving it to residents and ask for their participation. Okay.
Anne Marie, just for time's sake, so we have 4 breakout rooms, but before I press create, I think it would be easier to let participants know which room to choose. So how would you like the rooms broken up?
So do we have them automatically assigned, or
I can do that. I can automatically break it up evenly into 4 rooms if that's okay with you.
Yeah, let's give it a whirl and see what happens. But give me 1 second just to provide a little bit of brief information for that first. And I apologize, we're having just a little bit of technical difficulties today. So I'm just kind of getting my bearing on today's call. It's the new year. I do, as a little bit of background for a reminder, back in September, we hosted our food assistance provider listening sessions. We got a lot of great feedback from all of you into the challenges that you were experiencing, what you would like to see, if kind of all things were possible, what we could do together as a community. We came back together in November. We shared that feedback that we received from you, and we highlighted a few issues that we felt kind of fell most within our power to work on together as a community. And those 2 issues included local community coordination. So, coordinating around whether it was around a hub service area, whether it was just by, zip codes, by regional service center areas, just kind of like all ideas that came up there. And then we also talked about what setting up similarly like a mentee program. What are those things that your organization really excels at doing, that you could be a mentor for another partner in this space and help them work on? What areas would you like to learn from someone else on, areas that you're struggling with? So what we'd like to do now is go into some breakout rooms, be in there for about 20 minutes and talk about what does local coordination look like to you? It's a word that we talk about, right? But we might all have a different idea as to what it means to really be coordinated. So what does it mean to you? What does success look like to you? What are some barriers you see in trying to connect on a local level? What would you be hoping to accomplish and learn from each other? And then some logistics, what are some models that we could base that around? I mentioned a few at the start, but there are certainly other groups that are already functioning, things like the Emergency Access Coalition, so it's like, what other models are out there that we might want to consider as a way to connect locally? And then finally, again, just a little bit of feedback on things that, hey, you feel really confident about the way that you do, you'd be happy to share it with others. What are you looking to learn? So we're going to go into breakout rooms. We're going to talk about all of that. We'll come back. We'll do a little bit of sharing back out. And after that, we are going to have a update presentation from the Office of Food Systems Resilience. So really looking forward to this call today. And I see everyone filtering back in, so we'll give that a second for everyone to get back. Hello. I hope you were all able to start some conversations in this area. I know for some of you, these may be new topics or kind of new ways of thinking. I just want to share a couple of things that I apologize I hadn't thought through with the tech stuff to announce before we went into our calls, but just to keep it in mind. One, we are in the process of updating our food assistance resource directory. We are using the data that you shared about your distributions and about the usual other information that we included in the FARD, such as languages, your address, things like that, from the survey, the landscape survey that you completed for the Office of Food Systems Resilience. So that work is in progress. So we will have an update going there. We'll let you know when that's been finalized. I did also want to share that, we do already have some partners that are kind of coordinating on a local level in the East County. That's been happening. We know many of you all are also just kind of coordinating with local providers around you, as your usual form of business, as opposed to something, that's an official group. But that is something that we would like to, again, kind of move in that direction in the future. I also wanted to be sure to point out, prior to COVID, when we met in this space, we were the Food Recovery and Access Working Group. We used to meet in person. Deanna was always kind enough to get us space in Dennis Avenue in Silver Spring. And we were really working on implementing the recommendations of the Food Security Plan that was released in 2017. If you are a provider that kind of really rose up and stepped up during COVID, that work may not be as familiar to you and what the purpose of that working group was. During COVID, we really shifted to more of a resource call. At the FROG meeting, we always shared resources, but there was still kind of this ongoing work of the Food Security Plan that we worked on together. We are trying to pivot this space kind of back more into that working space. There were many things that came about from the listening sessions, that came about from the Childhood Hunger Plan, and that there's a lot of opportunities for us to work together to create solutions to make everyone's life a little easier in this space. And we want to be sure to take the opportunity to do that where we can. There are also things that we can continue to advocate up, that for where assistance is needed on certain items. So that's kind of the direction we're going to be moving things in the future. We are going to try to do some more in-person meetings, some where maybe we kind of separate by local groups, or maybe we kind of pilot one or two local groups who are interested, in hosting a regional service space. So that's why we're having the conversation that we did today. So apologies for that after the fact framing, but that's kind of where we're trying to move our calls in the future. So was there anyone who wanted to share from the groups just any ideas that came up around what local coordination looks like to you, whether it's, what it would look like to be a success, what barriers you see? We're happy to spend a few minutes kind of covering that.
Yeah, I'm happy to hop in, and we're gonna get us started. Because it's definitely something we talked about a few times, and one of the things we've talked about a lot is just kind of breaking down barriers between groups and whatnot. And that means, whether it's field trips was something that came up or whatever it may be, just opportunities so people feel more comfortable, whether it's asking a question of someone or if it's going, kind of splitting a food delivery or something like that, kind of finding out ways to break down those barriers so people feel a little bit more connected. One thing that came up and seemed to be popular was creating some sort of WhatsApp chat or messaging system where people can say, hey, I have extra of this, I need this, or just a place where people have like a real forum to go to and be able to, whether it's split a truck or split an order or whatever it really may be, and kind of uplifting the resources that exist, and kind of just forging better relationships through, which we talked about. It's so hard over Zoom, obviously, like it can just be so difficult. So finding ways to kind of forge those relationships so people feel as comfortable as possible when talking to people or asking questions. And then one thing that always comes up, as everyone knows, is cold storage, but we don't even have to get there. Always comes up in conversation.
One of our favorite topics. All right, thanks so much, Jack.
Yep, of course.
Anyone have something, in addition to share to that might be of interest to the whole group? Michelle, please.
Yeah, first of all, Anne Marie, thanks for providing that additional context. I think I sort of provided that context within the breakout group, and it sounds like maybe you did that as well. And one thing that really came up in the group was a need to not lose the fact that some folks really just do work across the entire county, or in some cases across the state or across the region, and making sure that if we are creating new opportunities for more hyperlocal coordination, we aren't losing the folks, or folks, still have opportunities to coordinate within their, the jurisdictions that they serve, which might be larger, or they would not be disinvited perhaps from participating if it was a local coordinating group that they were interested in. Another note that I felt was worth sharing for the larger group is just someone mentioned the need, because of the number of partners that we convene on these calls, not to lose all of the virtual connection that we've established, because some folks, due to accessibility issues or transportation issues, find that these calls and doing it virtually is the easiest way to get engaged. Or perhaps, they're not able to leave their normal workplace, or, something like that. I'm seeing some thumbs up. So just, a need to not, if we're adding, we're not losing, what we've created. And I think that is the intention among the staff, but I just want to make that clear that that feedback came up, and that's something we're thinking about internally too. And I'm seeing Anne Marie nodding. And then the last thing, when it comes to mentor-mentee relationships, some folks expressed a concern about time commitment, and although that is a need, perhaps it could be facilitated in a way that is more open and opt-in oriented. So, for example, maybe the Food Council could create an office hours space about volunteer coordination, and we make sure to invite a couple folks that do volunteer coordination really well, and we publicize it so that folks that feel like they want to improve in that area just know that they could join this office hours, sort of open discussion and ask whatever questions they have or learn from the group, more of an informal but virtual sort of topic area discussion. So those were some of the things that came out of our group, and feel free for folks in the group to pop in the chat anything that I didn't mention that you want to make sure is mentioned, but I did also take notes.
Absolutely to all of that. And thank you. Definitely. And yes, Stephanie, in-person meetings are on the agenda for the year. We're definitely not going to lose virtual calls, but we do want to sprinkle in some in-person meetings, because we know it's just a different dynamic, right? It's just a different way to connect. And it's challenging to bring together a group this large on a Zoom call and not have a lot of set programmed agenda, right? Because we're not just all gonna sit here and chime in, 100 people kind of chime in over an hour and a half. So we want to make sure that we're providing the best variety. And speaking about in person, I do also want to mention, when I first came on, it was COVID. And it was the height of COVID, and we didn't really have an opportunity for me to get out in the community as much as I would like and come see all of your amazing operations in person and meet with you one-on-one and learn about your specific needs and challenges and great ideas. And then year 2, we were working on the childhood hunger plan, and that kind of took up a lot of space there, getting to know new partners. But this year, I don't want to call it a resolution, because it's not a resolution, but it is my goal for the year is to get out and see more of you all in person. So please reach out to me if that is something, if you are happy to have me come. What I never want to do is create work for you or interfere with your schedule. So if you already have someone else coming to visit you for something and you would just like to open up that visit to me so you can get 2 visits in at the same time, I'm happy to do it that way, but I will be reaching out to folks, but please also feel free to reach out to me and schedule something, because I really, really do want to get to know you all and your organizations on a more personal level to think through what kind of challenges we can work on together. So thank you for that. Anything else that we wanted to share here? Obviously, we're gonna, be talking about this more in the future and sharing some ideas. But if there's anything else that kind of stood out, happy to talk about that before we move on to our next item.
I'll just say that in our group, a lot of what we talked about has already been mentioned, but what was called out was, in the past, we've done sort of organization spotlights in this space so people can really learn what people are doing, but more importantly, what they want to be doing, so that those opportunities become more publicized. Also, in terms of what actual coordination means, it's not just talking about food logistics, it really is talking about strategic thinking and other services besides food. So those are kind of the larger bucket items that I think we need to think about, or my group thinks we need to think about when we're coordinating. And finally, they did raise the issue of time. And so really leveraging what other partnerships have already been established is useful. And figuring out a system that's flexible enough, because not every hub is going to cover the entire county. And, some organizations will fall maybe between areas of the regional service center. So, being flexible is important as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, those were issues that came up in our breakout group as well. So thank you so much for sharing that. I'm looking, is Heather on with us yet? I don't think so, which is fine, because that gives us a few minutes to jump. Sharon Lopilato is with us, and she just wanted to share a community update that she had. And so this is perfect timing, because Heather from the Office of Food Systems Resilience hasn't joined with us yet. So this is a perfect time slot for that. So Sharon, you have the floor.
Great. Thank you so much, Anne-Marie. As you can see, my name is Sharon Lopilato, and you may have seen me on previous calls representing Nourishing Bethesda, but today I'm actually here on behalf of the Maryland Poor People's Campaign, along with my colleague Tom Kennedy, who's also on the call. The Poor People's Campaign was inspired by Martin Luther King Jr.'s rally that he was organizing just before his untimely death. We are a movement of poor and low-income people, faith leaders, activists, and advocates united in support of a moral policy agenda that centers the needs of poor and low-wealth individuals. A pre-pandemic study revealed that there are over 140 million poor and low-wealth people in this country, including over 2 million, over 36% in Maryland, but it doesn't have to be this way. On Saturday, March 2nd, over 30 state poor people's campaigns across the nation will hold simultaneous assemblies at their state capitals in an effort to change the prevailing narrative that wages war on poverty, on the poor, but not poverty, sorry. We are working to produce the most powerful presence possible in Annapolis on March 2nd to demand an end to poverty and other related injustices. The organizations which you all represent are entities that serve poor and low-wealth individuals and are thus ideal participants and messengers for this campaign. Tom and I are asking your help in sharing the word about the March 2nd rally with your leadership, your volunteers, and your clients. We want all of you to come. Anyone who cares about the policies that affect poor and low-wealth individuals. Just a second, I'll put in the chat a few links. March 2nd registration link, March 2nd flyer link, a link to information on Maryland chapter's current policy priorities, a link to all our social media pages, and email addresses for both Tom and myself. We hope you will register and join us on March 2nd in Annapolis. And we ask that you please share this information with others in your organization, volunteers, leadership, clients, and encourage them to attend. I want to note, very importantly, based on the zip code information that we gathered during registration, we plan to arrange some buses to help transport folks to Annapolis on March 2nd. So please try to register yourself and others as soon as possible to help us with those logistics. If you do want to organize a group to attend, I invite you to follow us on social media. I'll provide that link in just a minute. You're also welcome to reach out directly to Tom and or myself via email, and I'll put that in the chat. Tom, is there anything you want to add? I'm a new volunteer. Tom's a veteran volunteer, so I'm going to see if I forgot anything important.
No, you did a great job, Sharon. Thank you. And thank you all for allowing us to make this presentation today. The only thing I would say is that the rally is intended to be from 12 to 3, and it will convene on Lawyers Mall in front of the state capitol. And we may do a march at the end of it. We're still working on the permits for that from the Annapolis Police, but you know, it'll be your typical rally. We'll have speakers, and people will be encouraged to represent various aspects of how we address the needs of poor and low wealth working people. I'm on the policy team for Maryland. So part of my work is obviously lobbying on behalf of some of the legislation that we would like to see passed that we think would make a difference in the lives of the people that we represent. And in particular, we're addressing two things that I think are relevant to you all. And one of those is trying to ensure that we end food insecurity in a meaningful way. We're very cognizant of the fact that recently, on the federal level, cuts have been made to various food subsidy programs, and we're trying to work to ensure that Maryland makes up some of the difference in the way that the legislature operates this year. And I expect that there'll be some bills that will relate to that that will be introduced. We're also very committed to trying to end child poverty in Maryland as one of the legislative priorities for this year. And in particular, we're trying to get the Maryland legislature to extend the extended child care tax credit and also the earned income tax credit, and to have those apply to more low wealth people in Maryland. So those are just a couple of the policy priorities that we're going to be working on. We will be going back to, after the rally on March 2nd, we'll be going back the following week to begin our intensive lobbying efforts with legislators. So obviously we want to be carrying as much water as we can for the groups that we're working with, and we would love to have you all participating with us. Sharon, thanks for doing such a great job of introducing us.
Glad you were on the call to add more, Tom. Thank you.
Sure. So happy to answer any questions if anybody has them.
So I'm actually going to ask Heather Bruskin from the Office of Food Systems Resilience has joined us. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to direct them to Tom or to Sharon in the chat. And that's probably the best way moving forward. Right. Thank you so much, both of you. And welcome to Heather. Happy New Year. I'm glad that you were able to join us today and share an update with what has been happening since we last met in the Office of Food Systems Resilience.
Yeah, it's terrific to see all of you today. And of course, you know, I've got there's always something going on with a computer, right? So you can either have my barking dogs or a glare. So I think let's take the glare today. But Happy New Year. It's terrific to be with all of you. And I believe my colleagues, Catherine and Juan, are joining today as well. But I think I've had the chance to meet most of you, but I'm the director of the county's Office of Food Systems Resilience, and we're grateful to the Food Council today for inviting us to share some updates. It has been a very intense couple of months, but luckily full of good opportunities, both for our community partners as well as for the residents that we all seek to support. And so we will be sharing some updates from the outcomes of the special appropriation request, which went forward through County Council last month. And so we've got maybe 15 minutes. Anne Marie, does that sound right? I can't remember. I knew we had about that.
Yeah, 15, 20 minutes. We've covered a lot of our other announcements at other points, so we're good.
Okay, super. Well, so we will, bear with me. Do I have screen share permission, Anne Marie?
Oh, I will give that to you right now.
Okay.
Oh, actually, Esther, if you can give that, I think I lost my.
Ah, there we go. Okay. All right. So in the meantime, while we're sorting out the screen share, which I do believe we have.
Yeah, I just made you a co-host, Heather.
Thanks, Jack.
Yep.
Can everybody see that? Okay, awesome. So this will be a abbreviated version of the presentation that was made to County Council during a, I believe, December 1st session that went through all of the requests for funding from the county executive for both continued food security initiatives, as well as funding for the recommendations, the immediately actionable recommendations of the strategy to end childhood hunger. And so this provides a wide variety of opportunities to close service gaps and to get to a variety of our priorities when it comes to our post-pandemic long-term strategy to address hunger in our county. And so I don't need to read them all here, but just wanted to share some of the key pieces of what we are keeping in mind as priorities for our county government as we move forward and currently in FY24 and into the subsequent years for the investments that we make. I think we're all are keenly aware of the fact that federal resources that support both residents' direct access to food, as well as we're funding local government efforts to address food insecurity. Those resources are rapidly waning, if not already gone. And so that really puts us in a situation where we have to do more with less, because we also know that a variety of factors are impacting residents' food access and food security for more challenging barriers to their nutrition security. And so we are looking at making investments that, while addressing immediate food insecurity needs of our residents, is also getting at our priorities that are related to supporting local food production and economic opportunity, education, building food sovereignty, and strategies that get us to that long-term, really true priority of our residents, every single person in our community driving their decision-making and how they access food, when, where, the types, if it's at restaurants, grocery stores, gardens, and in their own home or community, as well as maximizing public and private dollars wherever possible. We're also looking at expanding ways to better collect and understand data, recognizing that data has tremendous limitations, but it's also critically important to understand the impacts of the investments that we're making and also the scale of the different issues that we're seeking to address. We also want to critically make sure that we're building the capacity of our partners, just like many of you who are on this call, recognizing that our county government leaned incredibly heavily on the nonprofit sector during the pandemic, and our nonprofit sector was stretched as far as it could be, and the response in our community was incredible, but that also isn't really sustainable. So how can we make sure that we're supporting our nonprofit partners as employers, as businesses, as service providers who are critical to the long-term resilience of our community? Similarly, we want to get at the systems-focused strategies. Are the investments we're making also supporting our climate goals, or the other priorities that we have related to building our local food production in the face of climate change and the overall struggles that we're likely to have as a community to collectively feed ourselves and be self-sufficient in the decades to come. And then finally, ensuring that we're centering equity, both in terms of how funds are administered, as well as how we're reaching residents through the funds that we are administering. So that is taking a wide variety of forms, and I encourage you all to take a look at that session, which is recorded and available on the council's YouTube session. But we wanted to take our time today to really highlight four of the key grant programs that are forthcoming, because we know that this is a critical way in these calls to reach our community partners. And our hope is that these strategies will close service gaps, but also lift up a lot of the key work that's already happening in the community with additional county investments. And so my colleague, Catherine Nardi, I think is going to talk through some of these grant programs that are funded by this special appropriation.
Thanks, Heather, and apologies in advance if my video decides to go out midway through my speaking. I've been having some technical difficulties today. But the first program that we wanted to share more details about today is a school-based food assistant grant program that will be launching this week, actually. It will be an opportunity for food assistance providers to receive funding to support food assistance services provided on site at an MCPS school. I realize I used the same set of words a lot in that sentence, but what we're doing currently is working with MCPS, particularly through the Director of Pupil Personnel and Attendance Services, to identify food security support needs from schools. We have sent out now 2 different surveys to all MCPS schools to help to prioritize the list of schools that we'll be working with through the end of this school year. And then on the flip side, once we put out an application this week, that will be for food assistance providers to apply for funding. And then the review panel will work to match the food assistance provider applicants with the schools that we are prioritizing based on service area, the capacity of the organization to perform the desired structure of food assistance programming, and what existing relationships there are within the community. We want to ensure that to the extent possible, we're connecting schools with food assistance providers that are in their community, that are already connected with maybe some of the families and students at the school, so that we can foster more long-term relationships and just a sense of belonging and trust in that community. We're anticipating that the school-based food assistance grant program will reach about 5,000 students and their families, and that will be due to having new programs at least 20 school sites. So we know that more than 50 Montgomery County Public Schools have on-site food assistance services currently. This program is specifically intended to allow for an expansion of programs at any of those 50 plus schools that do not have sufficient services, as well as creation of new programs at schools that have no current food assistance services on site. Again, that application is planned to open tomorrow. There will be a notice of funding opportunity that will come out alongside the application. And we anticipate initial programs will run from about February 16th-ish through the end of this school year. We expect that the information we'll collect through the application process, as well as conversations we'll have with grantees, as well as the schools that are matched with grantees, will help to inform future programming, and we'll use this as a framework for school-based food assistance into the 2024-25 school year and beyond. The second new grant program that we'll be launching this month is a Food as Medicine program. This is much more closely aligned with the recommendation in the strategic plan to end childhood hunger, and a little bit maybe more straightforward than the last program I detailed. So this will provide grants to healthcare providers for the creation of Food as Medicine programs serving Montgomery County families, particularly those that have children experiencing diet-related health concerns. We're expecting that this program will support approximately 1,000 families per week with direct access to fresh foods, medically tailored meals, etc. And there will be a preference within this application cycle for partnerships with local farms, locally owned and operated retailers, to kind of drive home the systems perspective that we're taking to all of these programs, and ensuring that healthcare providers and potentially a co-applicant, which could be a community-based organization, are looking to support our local food system in sourcing food for these programs. This application will open on or about January 18th. And this program will run for 9 months, 9.5, 10 months to begin with, through the end of the calendar year. The reason for this timing is that it'll allow us some time to collect data from the grantees. There will be information that we'll be collecting directly from the healthcare providers, but also we'll be asking grantees to collect information from the program participants. And so we want to ensure that there's enough time before the new budget cycle for us to really have a good sense of what the impact of the program was and how we can improve it for future funding and future opportunities to reach more families and to have a deeper impact in the community. The next program that will hopefully be launching in January, but is a little bit further behind on the timeline. We're hoping it will be released by January 24th, it's looking like, but definitely by the beginning of next month, is a SNAP outreach program that will be for state designated SNAP community-based organizations. So there's only a handful of organizations in Montgomery County that will be eligible to apply for this grant program. There's information on the state's DHS website about which organizations would be eligible. And this will help to directly target SNAP outreach for families with children ages 0 to 5. We know that there is a gap in reaching this population. And so particularly for families that don't have school-age children and maybe wouldn't be connected to some of the school-based programs that we are initiating, but also because there's sometimes some misinformation or lack of information amongst families in Montgomery County of who might be eligible for SNAP and other benefits programs. We want to expand outreach specifically to that population. This will, in theory, reach about 1,000 households. This is based on data collected from existing SNAP outreach efforts and what seems feasible within this initial 1-year cycle. There will be, like I said, a 12-month performance period, a 1-year cycle for this grant, and there is $200,000 in grant funding available total. There will be a minimum and maximum grant award noted in the notice of funding opportunity, which will be coming out in the next couple weeks. The next program is a cold storage grant program. Having collected information from food assistance providers through the survey that the Office of Food Systems Resilience put out earlier this past fall, and also from anecdotal conversations and feedback from farm partners, it's very clear to us that there is a lack of cold storage in our local food system. This is not a new finding, but is something that through the special appropriation we'll be able to address more effectively. And so this program is still kind of taking shape, but in theory would be to support partners that are involved in food security work in Montgomery County, as well as potentially also local sourcing and or food recovery efforts in Montgomery County. Again, this one is not as fully formed as some of the other programs at the moment, but we are in a very positive place with how this is moving forward and really excited to release this opportunity probably in mid-February or by March 1st is the timeline we're looking at for this right now. Again, similarly to the previous programs, all of the information will be in the Notice of Funding Opportunity or NOFO. And for each of these programs, aside from the school-based application, the NOFOs will be released a couple of days at least before the application actually opens. So there will be a chance for folks to take a look at what eligibility requirements there are for each of these programs, what the minimum and maximum award will be, what the duration of the performance period is, what the required metrics are, and so on and so forth. So hopefully this, if you have any questions specifically about this one or any of the others, they'll be answered in the NOFO. Otherwise, you can definitely reach out to us. And I think there's one more grant program maybe in here to share about. There we go. Thank you. And so this last one is, again, not a new program, but it is an expansion of the existing resident and community gardening grant program. The special appropriation increased the budget for this program significantly, so that we'll be able to support new projects and expansion of existing projects, potentially supporting a greater number of organizations doing this work in Montgomery County as compared to previous years, which is super exciting. Looking at the projections from the grantees in FY23, we're expecting that about 4,000 residents will have access to gardening education opportunities and produce through the expansion of this program, which is almost double the number of residents that we were seeing projections for this past cycle. We are looking to launch this program on a similar timeline to last year in March or April. So it'll be a couple months before the notice of funding opportunity for this one is released. There will be $200,000 in total funding this time around, and funds will be distributed to grantees by the end of the fiscal year by June 30th, 2024. The timeline for this is kind of still being worked out. We want to ensure that this program in particular is timed out in a logical way to account for the planning and implementation of programming, knowing that this has to align with peak crop season, growing season and harvesting, and making it as effective and meaningful, impactful as possible for all the grantees and recipients of any of the food that is produced. So we are still, like I said, working some of the details out for some of these, but wanted to go ahead and give you all a heads up that these are coming down the pipeline.
And I think I have a next slide.
Yep.
Sorry. Well, hello everyone. My name is Juan Cruz. I am the Performance Management Data Analyst for the Office of Food Systems Resilience. And to follow up to what Catherine was mentioning, in all these grant programs, we have an evaluation component. We want to make sure that we understand not just that the level of investment and the return on investment that the county is doing in these programs, but more importantly, the impact and the work that is being done, and whether, and so be able to understand that. And so as a our first round of us, creating this catalog of programs and then be able to report them, we need to find a way to also be able to measure the impact of the entire investment. So among each of the individual programs, they have their own service metrics and their own metrics individually for what the intended purposes of them. But then we also have a couple of similar metrics that are across all the different programs to be able to really understand the full impact of this investment. So likewise, for now, what we've been working on is to turn these grant request, the program design into what do we want to measure, and then really be able to explain that really thoroughly as best as we can in the notice of funding opportunities, as well as in the applications. So if you are one of those people that are interested, you will see in that you'll be asked to know what, we want to know what are you collecting currently, right? And what can you collect in light of what we're asking in under this program. And so, and what is our goal is to then create a report platform so that those that are awarded are able to go into this platform and really be able to provide the reports on the outcomes of the awards. So and really our theory here is that we want to make sure that we spend a lot of time planning exactly what we want to ask, and not ask everything but the kitchen sink, but as things that really seem reasonable with the level of data collection that people are currently used to, while also pushing us to really be able to look at and take a closer look at these programs and be able to see exactly what the metrics are, and then really trying to measure ultimately the outcomes that we're looking for. So with that, our goal is to then be able to collect all this data and at the end be able to run analysis and reports on the work that we've been doing, and really chart the way into how many of these programs are really meeting a need, or we're just scratching the surface of the need, and can we push it forward. So this is just another way for us to really be able to see that and do that, and using this evaluation frameworks to really be able to gain an understanding on the amount of work, the type of work, and where to go next. So that's about it for me, and then I'll turn it over to Heather, I believe.
Yeah, thanks so much, Juan, and thank you, Catherine. So it's an exciting time it's also pretty fast paced. But one of the unique things about this special appropriation was that it was designed to support immediately actionable strategies, and our community partners are key in quickly activating a variety of strategies to address these pervasive issues in our community through strategic mechanisms. And so more to come. You have now met everybody on our team. There are 3 of us. So, I think there's a desire to pace this in a way that is achievable and reasonable, but also we've got tremendous support from a variety of agencies. In particular, I want to thank the Office of Grants Management, who have been critical partners. And when we come and say, okay, we're going to launch 5 grant programs in the next 4 months, they were game for that. And especially Diana Tato Niktash from DHHS, who's been an absolutely essential thought partner in launching all of these initiatives so quickly. So it's an exciting time. Thanks to our leadership for funding these resources. And I know we've only got just a couple minutes, but I'm happy to answer questions. And I will say the information sessions for each of the individual grant programs is probably the most appropriate place, because I think when the notice of funding opportunities come out, those will have a lot of details. So I think we may be pointing to that opportunity for detailed questions about the programs, but happy to address anything broad brush today. And I will stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Heather and Catherine and Juan. I don't see any questions yet in the chat, but please feel free to raise your hand if you had one. We do have a couple of minutes left, so we can take a question or two. Obviously, once those notices do go out, we will be sure to forward them on to our distribution lists, and make sure you're aware if you're not already receiving those notices. We'll be sharing them through our distribution lists, as well as when the webinars will be. So be on the lookout for that.
Well, thanks so much for the opportunity to be here and share a little information on what's to come. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us with feedback and questions. But we're very grateful in advance for everybody's partnership and this work ahead. So thanks, Anne Marie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very exciting. I apologize. I did just see, normally I don't get to check my email while I'm on these calls, so I regret that I saw some requests to access the agenda, that some of you were having a challenge with that. You've seen it all, but we will definitely provide the information and notes. The only thing that you are missing is that for February, both February and March, we are planning something different. So I do not have a date or a link for you yet, but in February, we are working on trying to arrange a town hall meeting with the county executive for you all in place of our usual call. We're looking to do that in person. So more on that to follow if we're able to make that work logistically. And then for March, we are looking to hold our first in-person meeting. So again, more information to come. I didn't want you to think that there's nothing coming up on the calendar. There is, but we will let you know dates when we have them. Thank you all so much for your time, for your participation today. And, again, please feel free to reach out on any issues of challenge, or just to arrange a get together. We're happy to see you and look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you.